I can always remember Father working for Monty Abershon at Naughton. He said, look as though we're going to war again. And Father said, oh God, no. And he said, well, yeah, because the Germans started firing at the Poles that morning. And of course, at that age, you didn't know much about it. During the war, you had convoys coming through regular, and we never had a bypass then. They all had to come through the old road. How it managed it, I do not know, because where the garden centre is now, there was a tight left-hand bend there to drop in into Lacock, and there was many an accident. I remember a tank leaving the road and going through the wall, and he would have ended up in where the garden centre is now.
But we were in the Red Lion. 2 Americans came in, and old Charlie Moss, the landlord, he said, what are you chaps doing? Because we knew they'd all been confined. They said, well, we got out. He said, but the MPs are after us. They're on our trail. He says, then we're forced to hide. And Charlie said, the only place is down in the cellar. And they said, all right, yeah. Charlie said, get off down there. Within a few minutes, a jeep pulled up on the corner there with 4 MPs, got out. And 2 of them came over. And they said, where's the American soldiers? And Charlie said, well, I never seen them. And they said, well, we know they're here, and we're going to search. And Charlie said, search. He said, get out. Well, the jeep went off, but 2 of them stayed on the corner. They came up from the cellar, the 2 Yanks, and said, is there any way we can get out without them noticing? And Charlie said, well, no, not really. And, well, there was a chap there, Bill Lamb. He came from Wiltshire, and he had a Austin car. He said, well, he says, you can get in the back of my car. I got in the front. These 2 Yanks got down. Charlie covered them up with a load of old sacks in the back there, and we drove out the yard, went off up down the Abbey Road. To this day, I wish I'd known their names. I never knew who they were.
I only saw one, and that was because he was pushing his bike and he had a puncture. And my father said he wouldn't mend the puncture for him, but if he could mend the puncture, he had the necessary equipment in a little tin. So he did it for him, and the following night he called and he gave my father a ship in a bottle as thanks, because had my father not lent him the equipment, he would have missed tea and he wouldn't have had anything to eat until breakfast.
Out for a walk with a school friend of mine. I was only about the age of 8 then. We're walking along the side of a field. I noticed a young blonde lady lying in the ditch. She was in Land Army uniform, and on top of her was reclining an American soldier, also in uniform. And they were absolutely quiet and motionless. I think they must have heard our footsteps. I stopped my friend and said, just look down there a minute. You see what I see? And I said, do you think they're dead?
We did have an evacuee from Bermondsey, I think. And she was the one who came up, called my mother and said, do you know anything about the soldier downstairs? Said she didn't, and you better ask the colonel, you know. So she went to my father, same question. In the end, he put his dressing gown on and went downstairs. There, sure enough, was a paratrooper asleep on the land girl's overcoat. He had been so drunk, he decided he was too drunk to walk back to Caution. He was far too drunk to cycle. So he'd thrown his cycle into somewhere in the bushes. He wasn't too drunk to go round the house and find a little toboggan that I'd put up against the wall, because we'd had snow recently, and put it and use it as a sort of ladder. The ventilator window was open. Climb in, get the girl's coat off the hook, frighten the cat out of its wit, and lay down and went fast asleep. When my father woke him up, he said, oh, come and have a drink with me.
I was still at Lacock School. One of the things in each of the classrooms, we all young children had to help. We put pieces of sticky paper all across the windows, which is the glass wouldn't blow in on the pupils. But as the sirens went during the day at school, the instructions were we all had to run out the school and run into various houses in the high street. remember myself and two other boys had to run into a house at the end of the high street where the man who lived there was a postman. He didn't appreciate it because he'd been working nights and that, and then we sort of went in screaming and laughing into his house.
Going to work one morning, between Melksham is what we call halfway. The road is close to the railway line, and the plane machine gunned the train, and of course he come past us. We could see he was so low, we ended up in the ditch. We were late for work and it didn't go down when we clocked in late. Why did you... We were machine gunned on the way to work. They said they'd heard many excuses, but that was a rich one.